it's not over when your camera starts rolling. It is the professionalism that happens after, which sets you apart from the rest. Last week, I talked about the 5 things that I do before a shoot. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 things I do after a shoot. What is up, guys? Thank you again for coming back to this channel. My name is James. This is Yehagraphy, and I talk about tips, tricks, and insights to the world of video, basically a lot of creative stuff. But thank you again for coming back to this channel, and I appreciate all the eyes and ears. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I really appreciate everything that has come to pass lately. The channel is moving up slowly, which is great. I've been getting some emails here and there, some comments here and there. Maybe not more comments, but people actually are emailing me and hitting me up on LinkedIn. So I appreciate anyone that has done so, and I'm happy to know that my content actually brings value to anyone that's listening here. So thank you again for coming back to this channel. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I'll keep keeping on. But anyways, today I want to talk about the 5 things that I do after a shoot. I know last week I talked about the 5 things that I do before a shoot, but I think the real professionalism comes after. There are a lot of horror stories that I've heard in the past of not doing these 5 things immediately after a shoot, and it has dire consequences. So with that further ado, let's get rolling. So the first thing that I usually do after a shoot, and this is critical, I back up all my data. Now, not to sound too technical, but basically I have a 3 storage system. So typically after a shoot, I transfer it to the hard drive that I'm going to be editing the project on. And then from there, after I'm done backing up, I actually transfer all those files to like a 20 terabyte, Western Digital hard drive, like those cheap big size hard drives, just to like put it in there. And I also have a third backup, which is a private server, a NAS server that I have. That way, in case one fails, I back it up in 3 places. And depending on the company that I've been contracted with, some of them actually have a policy where I upload it to the cloud to their server, and it's backed up the 4th time over there, and I'm sure they have their own systems as well, or workflows in terms of backing up. So the first thing I do after every shoot is backup. There are countless horror stories that I've heard that and this has really happened, where they were packing up before a shoot and somebody actually robbed them in broad daylight, robbed the photographer, robbed the videographer in broad daylight, and all the data is gone. So it's not only just backing up after a shoot, it's actually also taking care of your data right after. You're tired, your guard is down, things happen. Making sure that you have insurance, making sure that you do all you can to protect the data, because at the end of the day, that's what the client needs, that end product from your data. So make sure you back up your data. Make sure you protect your data too, to and from your shoot, wherever you're backing up your data. So please keep that in mind. It's super important to protect the data and also back up the data. So the second thing that I do, aside from backing up the data, while I'm backing up my data, I'm actually labeling everything. So what do I mean by this? So as you see here, the first thing I do is I label the project name, and I usually start with the month, the date, and the year, and then I type in the name of the project, where, what is this for? So based on that, within that folder, then I'll have another folder that says footage, and then within that footage folder, I back up based on how I film. So typically, let's say, just to keep things simple, when I'm doing a typical solo wedding, for example, I have 3 cameras. So I'll have a backup camera, and I'll label this as backup. The second one would be my gimbal camera, and then I would label it gimbal. And then my third one would be the mediums and close-up camera. So these are the 3 folders I typically have. And then I also have my 4th folder, which I will label it as audio. Now, I will transfer my data based on those 4 folders, and that would actually set me up for the edit when I start editing, and that will keep me organized and know which footage is corresponding with the footage that I have. So something to keep in mind that actually keeps you organized. One, to do it right away after you're backing up your data, making sure you're archiving the correct footage, and then also it also sets you up for being more organized when you are actually starting to edit the project. So the third thing that I normally do is clean my gear. While data transfer usually takes a long time, depending on how big and how long you've been filming the whole day, clean your gear. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the filters that you use. Wipe it down. Since I live in Hawaii, we have the things called trade winds. In the trade winds, there's usually very salty air, and that actually has a buildup on those filters that I put on in front of my lens. If I have one here, I don't have one here, but basically, yeah, filters, they get all salty with all the air, and then depending on the places that you're filming, whether it could be in the winter, outdoors, in a dusty area, just wipe your things down. Another common thing that I do is I remove the lenses from the body, and then I just kind of use a dust blower and just kind of clean up the back of the lens, the front of the lens. I typically make sure that I wipe the steel metal between the lens and the body. Just kind of wipe it down, just very sternly wipe it on. Put the cover back on, put the cap back on, and put it back in the assorted places that is in my bag. And I think it's a good habit just to kind of do it at every shoot. That way you can maintain productivity of your equipment. Plus, if like me, I typically try to get the latest gear that would make my workflow better. So sometimes when I want to resell it, I'll have a good value in return when I'm selling my gear, whether it's my body or my lenses. So keep your gears clean. It will definitely help you in the long run throughout your career, and it'll actually provide you a good habit into just being clean with your gear, and things will actually last longer. So yeah, good habit to partake in when it comes to longevity of your gear. So keep that in mind. The fourth thing that I do is just keeping score of what happened during a shoot. If there's something that you think could have gone smoothly or better, then I'll just put a side note on my notepad in my phone, make sure I have something well prepared the next time, make sure I have my gear well prepared, make sure I am 5 minutes earlier, just to adapt to the situation if it arises again. There are so many things that can happen in a shoot, and no filming session will ever be perfect. There's always going to be some maybe minor things here and there, but making note of it and just kind of acknowledging what happened would actually make you more efficient and better productive filmmaker. That actually will make you grow and keep growing as a filmmaker. But another good habit to do is also, if you're working as a team, what can we do better next time, and then see what the round table says, and then based on that, you guys will be better filmmakers just by acknowledging the fact and talking about it, and seeing different perspective. And do it for yourself too. Hey, I did something, this happened during my shoot today. It wasn't as smooth as I wanted to go. I did get the job done, but it could be better. So acknowledging it, putting a mental note, troubleshooting, and just jotting it down actually helps you in the long run. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to do it because you're tired after a long day, but try, just try to acknowledge what happened, what could go better, and trust me, it will help you in the long run. So the last thing you need to do is rest. Get rest. And rest with intention. Don't just I'm just gonna sit if you need to take a nap, take a nap. Those power naps are helpful. Rest. Go eat, go recharge yourself, because the last thing you want to do is get burnt out. Making sure you have a schedule for yourself, and include resting as part of that scheduling process. It goes a long way, trust me. If you're just grinding, again, I think I've talked about this in my prior videos, where burnout is, don't embrace burnout. It's not a good feeling, and it will hurt you in the long run. So make sure you rest with intention. Make sure it's part of your schedule. Make sure resting is part of your schedule. No matter how you are scheduling yourself to rest, make sure you rest, especially after a shoot, because it's a physical toll. Not many people think it's just picking up the camera, but it's a mental and physical toll, and it takes a toll on your body. So make sure you rest. I think I can't recommend it enough. And I had definitely struggled in the past where I just keep going, and I burnt out, and I didn't have a life. Thankfully, I have a very good partner in crime in my life, and she kept me on my toes, and having that balance definitely helps. So be kind to yourself, and make sure that rest is part of your arsenal. So yeah, those are the 5 tips that I do right after my shoots, and I hope that these tips will actually help you be a more effective and efficient filmmaker, and hope that it will bring value, and I hope you can implement it in your structure and workflow. So yeah, thank you again, guys, for watching. If you haven't done so, please comment, like, and subscribe. And I appreciate everyone that has been reaching out through LinkedIn. For some reason, LinkedIn is, I get a lot of, actually more than normal these days, with all the latest short form edits that I've been putting out, based on this long form edit on YouTube. So yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate everybody's comments and everybody's questions. And yeah, keep it coming, and I'll keep doing this. And again, thank you again. Please subscribe if you haven't done so, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.